Carol, we're going to get a show rolling since we have a variety of speakers this evening.
Yes.
In Coast with Planning Department, this is the first meeting of 2026 for the Shady Grove Implementation Advisory Committee. There's our agenda. We have a discussion with McLean Quinn, CEO of EYA, regarding retail, specifically along Crabs Branch Way. Mr. Dice, the director of DGS, will be giving us an update on the east side and other matters. Some information from Council Member Lutke's office, from her chief of staff. And then I'll give a few updates regarding development plans that are in the area. So that's our agenda for the evening. And McLean, I'll turn things over to you.
Great. Excellent. Well, hello, everybody. It's good to see many of you again. And I do have a brief presentation to share, but I really want to be able to focus on the questions that we've heard from the community regarding the retail at Westside specifically, and sort of the status thereof, and what we're hearing, what we're thinking, what we're hoping to do. So I'll share my screen here and kind of try and move through that. And I will say, I'd ask you to indulge me in the first couple of slides, because it is 2026, which is 20 years after the Shady Grove sector plan was enacted. And one of my colleagues pulled together a couple of fun slides. David, you'll appreciate these, and Cozy too. So this is 2010 at the County Service Park.
I remember that.
It's hard to believe today when you're out there, but that's what we had in 2010. After a tremendous amount of effort from the county to relocate uses and prepare the site for development, we were in 2015 ready to go. By 2020, we had delivered the first phase of the multifamily, 333 units, the first 148 townhouses, and we were under construction with the amenity building clubhouse. And then you look at where we are today, and the community is almost complete, which, feels like an entire career to me. But it's really only 10 years since, we were looking at that demolished site ready to go. It's pretty incredible. And oh, hello?
Hello?
We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay.
You just lost your slides.
Okay, my computer went blank on me for a second. But it's pretty incredible to think that we are where we are now at Westside. And we know it's trying to get my slides back here. Computer's having some fits.
I want those slides, McLean.
I will send them to you. Well, I apologize. I don't know what's going on. My computer's not happy. Anyway, we are. I was about to share a picture of the final multifamily building pad, which was the first snow-free area of its size in all of Montgomery County, as far as I'm concerned. But we broke ground on the Sage in January. We are under construction officially for the building, which will contain the library that was envisioned in that 2006. Sorry, guys, I'm just going to move away here. In that 2006 sector plan, it is about a 28-month build cycle for the Sage. And then last month, we were in front of, I think it was last month in Cozy, everything's blurring together, but we were in front of the planning board for Block U, which is the final development parcel at Westside, which has now officially been entitled. And so I think I'm sharing screen again. Folks can confirm. Great. Wonderful.
Right.
So we are, guys, I apologize. I really am having technical difficulties here. And Cozy, give me 1 second to leave the meeting and rejoin. I apologize, everybody.
All right, we will sort of hold tight until McLean rejoins.
What he's going to tell you about Block U is that they've gotten all the approval for site plan, forest conservation, and final development. So they're
Oh, that's
rocking
good to
and
hear.
rolling. So
Yeah.
the going to have 43 bedroom townhomes, 5 workforce units, community gardens, and an expanded park. And you guys can ask him about the size of those things, but it is happening.
It is, yeah. The board recently approved that, and let me see, late last year, November, I think the committee got an overview from EYA regarding what was being proposed. So it's good to see the west side completed, at least that portion with townhouses, and then the last phase of the multifamily is underway. So
All right, do they have any idea when you think they're going to break ground on the townhouses?
not sure when McLean comes back, he could probably
Yeah.
answer the question. Yeah. Mr. Resnick, I see your hand. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Nope.
There you go.
There you go.
Nope.
No. Because it's the night of computer issues.
Technology will always fail you.
It'll bite you in the butt.
Yes. It's yes.
Actually, Jeff, it thinks you're speaking, but we're getting no sound.
Yeah. You could put your question in the
But
chat as an
McLean's
option.
back.
So
Hey, everybody, I had to reboot. I apologize. My screen kept going black on me.
There we go.
Sorry about that. So just mentioning that we have now taken the final piece of the West Side plan to the planning board, the Block U parcel, which many of you have seen before at the intersection of Shady Grove and Crabs Branch, which we talked about as a group last year. And this has now been approved by the planning board for 40 new townhouses here at West Side with the half-acre park, the community garden, and then some enhancements that were, honestly shaped by feedback from many stakeholders in the West Side community and others that we've met with regarding some of the other features folks wanted to see in the park. And for the first time, having a community this large where we were building a final piece, we were able to survey the entire community, all of the residents living in the townhomes and condos at West Side to get feedback on what they wanted to see in the park. We got 135 survey responses, which was about 25% of the entire community, and that really helped us shape the final vision for the park spaces here. So we're now moving into the final engineering and design phase for Block U, and hopefully about a year from now, we'll be moving dirt here. Let me just see, Jeff, you had a question here. I am going to move on to retail, Jeff, and then we'll get to that question. So I mentioned the Sage, which is entering its build cycle. You can see in the ground floor on the right-hand side of the Sage, the library that will be operated by Montgomery County Public Libraries. We will, Jeff, hopefully be able to turn this space over to the county prior to completion of the building. So it's typically probably something in the, at 20 months or 22 months in our build cycle, we'd be able to actually turn this space over and allow the libraries to get in there and begin their work, assuming that they're in a position to do that at that point in time. This is an aerial from this morning of what the Sage looks like. So we are preparing for the initial construction you'll see out here will be, you won't see anything. It's all piles. We're going to be driving about 1,500 piles into the ground here to support the foundations of the building. And then you'll see the parking garage get erected first, followed by the park. That should be done by summer. And then over the course of the year, you'll actually see the building come out of the ground. So really to jump into the topic that I was asked to present about tonight was the retail at Shady Grove in our West Side community, which flanks both sides of Gramercy Boulevard and fronts Crabs Branch Way. Folks will remember that the Starbucks was really the first tenant to open here on the corner. Kids Ground was an early tenant. West Side Beer and Wine was an early tenant. Pearl Vision has been here for years now. They temporarily closed and have reopened. But all of those uses are in the daily, which EYA no longer retains an interest in. We have not been an owner of that building for many years now, but we coordinate with them closely, and we have the same retail leasing team. And then on the Laureate side of the street, which is the left-hand side of the street where the CVS was, we have another approximately 20,000 square feet of retail. So in total, there's about 40,000 square feet of retail on both sides of the street, about 20,000 in each building. And retail here has been challenging for a while. So I will say that Starbucks was our first lease. They came out at the gate strong. They loved the corner location that we had here. They liked the idea of the visibility on Crabs Branch Way. I don't know that the store ever really had the traction that they were hoping for, that it was ever as busy as they had hoped for. But when Starbucks announced its closure, similar to when CVS announced their closure, these were not one-off closures. These were corporate closures that were taking place alongside dozens, hundreds of other closures taking place by those chains. I think in the case of Starbucks, it was following a new CEO coming in and changing strategy. And then the CVS, the pharmacy space, I think has been challenged. Grocery stores have had their business model sort of rethought post-COVID, and pharmacies have sort of had a similar situation. And so we are we're upset to have lost both Starbucks and CVS. Just how retail works in general, for the most part, retail leases are 10-year long leases, especially when you're talking about these big credit tenants. So they sign a lease for 10 years, and so long as the landlord doesn't default on its obligations, they're on the hook to perform for 10 years unless they go out of business. We have had some places go out of business since we've been here, but in the case of Starbucks and CVS, those are large corporate tenants who have chosen to leave. They still have obligations to and rights to the space. And so the way it works when a tenant like that leaves is they're going to owe the landlord ongoing rent until the duration of their lease term expires, unless they can cut a deal with the landlord to exit sooner. As a landlord, and I'll use CVS as the example because we still retain an interest there, we don't want to give up CVS's lease and income until we can replace it. And so we are in the market now trying to find someone who can go into that space, just as the owner of the Daily is marketing the Starbucks space. So I had a call today just to get the latest information from the retail brokers at KLNB, who are representing both sides of the street here on status of retail leasing activities. And so I'll start with the Daily, and I'll again caveat that I probably shouldn't know these things, but this is what I was told, and we have no interest in the building, but there is a lot of interest in the Starbucks space from bakeries, cafes, and coffee shops. Tenants generally prefer to go into what we call second generation space, or space that was previously occupied by another tenant. because the cost of setting up a store and turning on a store in second generation space is lower than moving into a brand new raw space where all the mechanical equipment and all the build out still has to take place. So I believe that within a month or two, there will be an announcement about a new tenant taking the Starbucks space, that they will be a coffee shop, bakery, cafe style concept that I think the neighborhood will love. Again, we don't have an interest in that property, but I've been told that there's tremendous interest from a number of concepts, and they are pretty close to finalizing a deal with an existing proven operator for the corner for Starbucks. The kids' ground space, which is also empty, is also being is also in active discussions with some personal services businesses. So I think something in keeping with the nail salon or hair salon, hair studio type users. And so there are ongoing conversations there. There have also been a fair number of fitness users who have expressed interest in the site. And so leasing activity is active in the daily. At the Laureate, we are working very closely with the owner of Fontina, who is under lease, who has, we have our landlord permits in hand to begin work on our responsibility for the build out of the Fontina Grill space at the corner of Columbus and Gramercy. The tenant should have his permits by the end of March. And we are hoping that Fontina will be open. I think end of summer is aggressive. We're targeting end of summer. I think early fall is likely for Fontina to have their grand opening. The dentist, which we have also executed a lease with, is actively under construction. They are the retail bay that sits right next to the residential lobby, sort of on the far side of the lobby from CVS. So they are under construction, and their timeline should be, potentially open as early as June. And then we have one more unleased retail bay other than the CVS box. We are exchanging a letter of intent with a boutique fitness user for that space. And so our hope is to be able to advance that in the near term. We are actively marketing the CVS space. We are targeting markets, things that will replace sort of the neighborhood grocery service that CVS provided in addition to its pharmacy. And that's sort of the target for what we're looking for there. And I wanted to address one other issue about the retail, which is parking, which I have another slide on, but maybe before I leave this slide, I didn't know if there were other questions that I could answer here.
A quick question, does Fontina, are they going to have any outdoor space or?
Yes, they're going to have a lot of outdoor space. So
I figured that was what made this attractive to them. I know that's been an issue with them at King Farm for quite a while.
Yep. So they're going to have outdoor dining seating basically all along the plaza here, a significant amount of it. So they have frontage that wraps the corner of the building. It actually sits kitty corner to the library, which is right here. And the plaza that will be here at the library. So yeah, Ali is very excited about that. And this restaurant build out is spectacular. I mean, he is going to build a really beautiful restaurant here. Fontina is a wonderful restaurant already. It's a great neighborhood staple, but you walk in there and it's clear that restaurant space hasn't been updated in a little while, and he's going to have a brand new, beautiful restaurant to serve his patrons. So we're really excited for that. So as it relates to parking, there's been a lot of concern in the community, a lot of concern from folks who know Fontina's relocating here, and frankly, from the retail tenants about how parking works at West Side. and specifically how the retail parking works. And I break down if we have a parking problem at West Side, we really have two separate problems. We have a signage problem at West Side, and then we have an enforcement problem at West Side. And so I have walked the site. I walked the site in late January, and then I met Ali, the owner of Fontina, out here, and we walked it together. And so what we've identified is that it is hard to know where to park if you are a visiting retail patron. It is hard to identify where the parking is on the building, even though we have parking signage. If you see the image in the middle of the screen here, this is as if you were driving, if you'd come in from Gramercy, gone around the traffic circle, and we're taking a right down Columbus Avenue. The parking garage, if you can see my cursor, is right back here. You can't see it. It has a parking sign on it, but because of the relief in the facade of the building, you can't even see the parking sign. And so we need to make significant signage upgrades to the wayfinding of how do you get to retail parking on the site. And so that is something that our team is actively working on, and we will be making changes to enhance the visibility of the retail parking. We also have one of the neat things about the way we built the Laureate is that we have two components of commercial parking at the Laureate. We have retail parking, and then we have parking for HOC's office use, which is a second floor use in the building. But one of the great things about that HOC office use is that they don't need their parking after 5 p.m. and they don't need it on weekends. And so that really was always intended to be overflow retail parking. While the parking is signed such that you know it's reserved for HOC during HOC's hours, it is not clear that it is retail parking the other hours. So we're going to make signage improvements within the garage. We are going to make it really clear that the HOC spaces are available for retail patrons after hours. We're going to make all of the existing retail spaces very clear that they are retail spaces. We're going to incorporate some signage that helps direct folks to Fontina, for example, within the garage. And then we are working with Fontina to actually identify some spaces within the garage that we can dedicate to them, so that their customers know they can park in those spaces. They say they're for Fontina customers. And so we are actively working on that, which brings us to, if the parking exists and people can't see it, there's also a question of, is there enough parking? And we sometimes hear that maybe there isn't enough parking because people go into the building and they see lots of the parking spaces full. Well, I was there at 7:30 in the morning when none of the retailers were open and many of the retail parking spaces were full. So clearly the retail parking is being used by other people who either don't want to pay for parking in the building, or are Metro parkers, or are West Side residents looking for extra places to park. So we also have an enforcement problem. We don't think that we have a number of retail parking space problems. We might just have a challenge in people finding the spaces and then being available for retail parkers. And so we plan to ramp up enforcement of retail parking, make the retail parking rules really clear throughout the community, warn the community that we're going to begin enforcing retail parking, and then actually implement retail parking enforcement to make those spaces available and to give tenants like Ali comfort that they can open their restaurants knowing that their customers will have a place to park. So that's sort of our plan. I think that's what we've been hearing. And so we're really committed to trying to make that happen. I saw there was a question.
I think you've got two questions.
So I will let David perhaps answer the question of when the library might become operational. And Evelyn, to your question, we would absolutely, consider parking on the east side of Crabs Branch Way if that worked for the county. I know they have a lot of uses that are active over there, and I think the migration of the school buses across the site and the potential risk of interference with school bus operations, I think, has kept us from parking over there. But appreciate that question. I will say, I mean, we have something like 140 retail parking spaces in the Laureate, which is a huge number of retail parking spaces. So it is very unlikely that, given the type of tenants that we are targeting and that we have at the Laureate, that we would ever need more than 140 retail parking spaces at night or on a weekend. So what we really have is people using the retail parking spaces for non-retail purposes. So.
I have a question. You could unmute or just put your question in the chat. Jeff, I saw you had your hand up again. Is your audio good to go? Yeah, we still can't hear you. Okay.
I think Jeff's question was this a question beyond the end when we anticipate the library opening?
I can talk to that now if you'd like.
There's a question there, McLean, regarding is there a possibility to let community members use the parking during non-business hours?
So it's a great question. It becomes complicated. And so one of the things that we're looking at is whether we implement parking controls that would allow for folks to pay for parking in the retail building. Our hope would be that we would be able to make that retail parking available without having to install access controls, because sometimes access controls, think of it as a ticket machine that you have to pay to ticket or validate your ticket if you visit a tenant. Those can deter visitors. And I think that's something that Ali is concerned about, especially given that he has a fair number of customers who are older and who may be accustomed to surface parking. And so asking them to go into the parking garage and then having to take a ticket and remember to validate it could be a deterrent to their use. But if we had access controls like that, which we are investigating, it would be possible for people to choose to park overnight and pay, for example, if they weren't going to use 3 hours free to visit the retail. So it is a possibility. It is something we can look into. I know that there is also monthly parking available at the Laureate, and I assume at the Daily, where folks can lease a parking space on a monthly basis. So that is also available. And yes, the Sage does have ground floor parking spaces. So right when you come into the Sage, it has dedicated ground floor parking spaces for the library.
All right. Any other questions from our committee members and guests from McLean on parking or any other matter? West Side really.
Actually, this is Shobana. Hi there. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
You can.
Okay. McLean, in reference to what you just said, when you say that there are parking spots available for lease, who are those available to?
Well, they are the parking spaces are first available to the residents of the Laureate, but my understanding is that they are not all leased and should be there should be excess spaces available for other members of the community. And if they are not being made available, that is something I can follow up on.
Yeah, we looked into that actually several times, and we were told that's not possible. So that would definitely be helpful if you could do that, please.
Okay, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
I
And then
can,
yeah, so sorry.
There was a question about MCDOT from Jeff, assisting with the parking. And no, they only maintain county-owned parking garages.
Yeah. McLean, can you just verify when do you think the grand opening would be for Fontina,
So
roughly? Yeah.
I think it's realistically September. Could be as late as October. The dream scenario is August, but I've been around enough of these projects to be pretty skeptical that we'll get there. So I think the fall.
Okay, awesome. And I just wanted to thank you for the update. It was a great update. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Right, I want to say it's kind of exciting that you're getting a dentist at the Laureate. We don't actually have a lot of dentists in the area.
We've always thought of the retail at West Side as, being primarily neighborhood serving retail. I mean, the stuff that, you can get your nails done, pick something up quick from the beer and wine store, or go to the dentist, a couple times a year, hopefully no more, but unfortunately some of us have to go more often than that. Yeah, the bakery and the dentist could cut a deal. I like that. Absolutely. And then the fitness center,
There you go.
You
There
go
you go.
work it off. So it's good.
Eat a donut, do some sit-ups.
Well, thank you, everybody. And I know it is exciting to be sort of 20 years into the sector plan and to sort of see a large component of it built out. Often you don't see that much of a sector plan kind of come to life over that kind of time frame, and it's certainly exciting. And it's taken everybody on this call to make that happen. So.
Yeah, thank you for your update. If you could share the slide deck with me, McLean, I could share it with other people who are on the contact list, so we still be aware of what's happening. So I don't see any other questions for you or any other hands. So again, thank you for making time with us, even with technical difficulties on your end, which happens. So don't feel bad about it. So great, thank you, seeing you again. We're gonna keep the show rolling to Mr. Dice with Department of General Services for an update on Shady Grove Station East Side.
Well, let me go ahead and tag onto the coattails of McLean's presentation regarding the library. The library is included in the executive CIP, and it will be necessary for the community to advocate for that project so that it can come about. The director of libraries fully supports this project. And whoever posted that, Nicosia, if that was you, you can enlarge that a little bit so some of us that are straining can read it. But
okay, sure. Hold on.
My 70-year-old eyes are. It's showing for it's early on in anticipation of having full funding available, so that once the Sage construction is complete and the shell can be turned over to the county, we can move in immediately thereafter and begin the upfit for it. So it's a couple years away, of course, depending upon the completion schedule of the Sage. So that's good news, cautious good news. The County Council has begun hearings on the capital project program. So it's important for every group that has a program in there they want to advocate for to begin its advocating. I don't know if Aaron wants to contribute anything to that element. Aaron, I'll give you the chance to say something if you'd like.
Sure. Well, thank you, Carol, for your testimony yesterday. Very well done.
Yes.
And you got Magruder in there too, which we like. Yeah, so as David said, the county executive's recommended CIP is before the council. This project, as shown by Nicosia, is recommended. So our job, our task is to keep it right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we need your advocacy for that. Thank you again to Carol. And so, whatever you can do individually to send emails, I'll put contact information for all the council members in the chat. I will also send you the link to the committee of jurisdiction, which will be the Education and Culture Committee. So you can contact those council members individually too. And of course, a letter from this committee, a letter of support, I think would be hugely helpful, because this project, as we all know, speaks to implementing the sector plan, right?
Exactly.
And so we want to make sure it stays in, doesn't get shifted around, and it's done on a timeline that it works for the construction of the building. So
Right, and
I'll
if,
just
if
put
the,
that out there. I'll let you
if,
guys decide about how you want to go about doing that.
if the right, if the rest of the committee, and I think we've got at least a decent number of committee members here. If you're all in agreement that we should send a letter, I would be happy to get a draft out in the next couple of days to everybody, to see what you think. And I'm also going to see if I can get a letter from MCAP. Aaron.
Yeah, that would be.
Because they actually, I just volunteered to be their secretary, so I think they owe me.
That would be great.
Okay, so good news then on the library. We've already got a successful model for this type of library, and again, reiterate the library director is very enthusiastic about this, and you've heard from her already. I would encourage you to get her back at some point. I almost was going to have her sit in on this conversation, but we've got more meetings coming before we have to start doing some detailed planning on that facility. But she's very excited about what it can mean to this community, and of course, this community's got some ideas of what they'd like to see. So those discussions will be coming. Moving across the street. Again, more good news. We're progressing steadily and rather quickly on getting the bus depot relocated over to 861 Goody Drive. We have selected an architect, and the design is well underway. It's in the design development phase. And we're already meeting with the Department of Permitting Services. In many projects like this that I like to fast track, sometimes projects can get bogged down in permitting as everyone's doing their various reviews. So I've successfully in the past gotten together with the leadership of permitting services and created a sort of a task force or tiger team who are individuals within their various disciplines who are focused on this project. They know it's coming. They understand its importance and urgency. And so we're meeting with that group in DPS in about a week to kick off the permit review element, let them know what's coming, let them know the type of building that we're working on, what we want to do conceptually before they actually get the plan submission. So that should grease the skids, if you will, for permit review and speed that process up. Forest conservation exemption was submitted to the planning board already. There's no forest conservation involved, but we have to go through that. Yeah, exactly.
No trees.
And in fact, along that lines, we're also purchasing if you're familiar with the old Amazon warehouse site, immediately to the left of that on Dover Road is a large surface parking area, which we have just executed a lease for. So that'll take care of some more of the school buses that will be therefore parked off the site at Jeremiah Park. And that should be a fairly easy executable site. We shouldn't have to do too much to that since it was already a place where Amazon was parking its trucks and other trucks have parked. So again, the permit review process design is well underway, and we're anticipating a relatively straightforward construction. This is not a difficult project to do at all. So at that point, we'll be looking at getting a number of the buses off of Jeremiah Park. DOT, as I've informed this committee before, had engaged the state and Metro in acquiring the access road. Those negotiations, quite frankly, have gone far more smoothly and rapidly than I would have ever expected them to. So, yeah, so we've already finalized the documents. Documents are with Metro and State Highway for review for us to acquire both the access road and that first loop. And DOT has already looked at some preliminary plans for creating the access off the Metro access road onto the back of the site so that we can get buses off of Crabs Branch Way. So with all of that underway, approximately about a year from now, we should be seeing the depot torn down and a number of the buses off. As this committee knows, we still continue to look at opportunities to park all of the buses off site, but those have not yet come to fruition. But we are going to push all of the buses to the back of the site along the Metro access road so that it will still free up the balance of the site for the development that has always been anticipated. In fact, I can share just to reiterate what we were talking about. If I can find it. There it is. So this is the current site. This can everyone see this?
Yep.
Okay, so the green or blue shaded area is that area that will be freed up for development. This back portion, the brown portion, it will be somewhat reduced from this. We're going to keep the fueling island that my cursor is floating over right now. That's going to remain until the school buses are no longer diesel fueled. This is the county's radio shop. That will remain. And the school offices that associated with this bus parking area that were in this building will be relocated to the county radio shop. So this entire blue tinted area will be cleared and open for development. The surface lot that will remain in this back portion of the property, we will come in and put solar panels on that, canopy which will help conceal any view that one would have of school buses and eventually county ride-on buses. Again, all of which will be exiting and entering off of the access road here, because our commitment is to keep Crabs Branch Way clear. So the good news is those plans are well underway, continuing with almost no resistance. Again, I always anticipate, like McLean, my years and decades of doing this have always have taught me to anticipate problems. We still do, but so far they haven't materialized. So we are moving along as rapidly or even faster than I had expected us to.
Now, the most important question, though, are you practicing with your wrecking machine so you can take down the first building?
That remains to be my request to my staff is I want to operate the bulldozer that runs through that building first. So we incidentally part of the analysis, and we just sort of inside baseball here. Part of this also includes having to do work with state environment, because there are some contaminated soils, and we'll be having to remediate those as well. But all of that is working. Instead of trying to do things sequentially, we're trying to put as much in happening at the same time so as to reduce the time span from when we can have those buses done and that site cleared. That's it for me.
All right, wonderful. Questions from attendees? I see something is in the chat here. You could unmute yourself if you want to. Or
I guess, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks for this, David. It's really helpful. I guess my question is more, my husband asked me the other day, are we gonna have to wait until in between the school years? You know, like, I mean, obviously in between school years, the summer is a good transition for everyone.
Right.
Could it be, oh my gosh, the school year starts
Well,
and the
to be
buses are
honest,
still there?
no, well, we're a lot of this depends upon schools, of course. We are in our planning with schools, and we meet with them at least monthly, sometimes more frequently. I have a standing meeting with their facilities and logistics group once a month, and this is an ongoing topic. We're targeting if to do this, yes, in sequence with before the school year. This is only February. This is not a difficult construction. And so, yes, it's our target to be able to have the buses operating off-site by September, but I'm not going to stand or sit here and commit to that at this point. That is our target, and I'll keep you updated as to whether we think we're going to make it or not.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks as always.
any other questions for Mr. Dice? Okay, seeing no hands or hearing any voices. David, as normal, thank you so much for making time for us.
My
So
pleasure.
coming and giving us an update. So really
You bet.
appreciate it. All right, so next on the agenda is Aaron Kraut. Aaron is with Councilmember Lutkes. He's the chief of staff. Aaron, the floor is yours.
Thanks everyone. Item 1 was the library, covered that, and happy to answer questions, you know how to reach me. Second item, it's come up a few times, some of the parking issues along Somerville on the other side of Redland. Tractor trailers, people park there for apparently long periods at a time.
I think they
Doesn't
live
look
there.
good, doesn't help sort of circulation, doesn't make the street feel safe to drive down. So each time it's come up here, we've gone to the police and said, what can you do? And they've gone out and looked. The reality is very tough to enforce. County has a blanket parking law where you can't keep a vehicle on a county street parked for more than 24 hours. Obviously, you can already anticipate there's some issues with trying to enforce that. One is you got to be out there kind of frequently to know. Another thing that tends to happen, and I don't know if it's happened here, but people are smart and they'll literally move their vehicle a foot or 3 feet, and technically they've moved their vehicle, right? So we are trying a different sort of approach, and we were actually approached by the property owner at Redland and Somerville, because they want some street parking for some of their retail tenants. That's what their retail tenants are asking for. So we're working with DOT, trying to figure out how to put some parameters on the parking there. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I don't know if that's meters. I don't think it's meters, but it could be some hourly limits on the parking. It all depends on a petition that the property owners there need to do and have said they're going to do, and they're going to go through the process. So we'll be pushing to try to make that, whatever that solution is, cover as much of the street as possible, and not just that property that's come to us near Redland. But I wanted to let you know we're trying to push that through with DOT, and hopefully by next meeting I'll have an update, and a good one, about a potential solution there that will make it easier to enforce. I mean, that's what we're after. So that is all we had. So happy to answer questions or pass it on.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, any library, non-library questions, roadway issues?
I think, yeah, I think when you talk about the planning area development, Nicosi, that you're going to touch on Paramount, which is the,
Yes, I'll correct. That's on my,
and these tractor trailers are going to be an issue for them.
yeah, so
So I can,
thanks for the, yeah, so let me start in that area. So this is an area of the area, and what Carol is talking about is this property here. It's in for, it was rezoned by the council last year. It has a conditional use as well as rezoning to permit a sort of a new version of storage there. Two new buildings will be built by the property owner, new property owner, that will be done in two phases. The properties, streetscape, and everything that sort of surrounds it will be upgraded. You'll have better sidewalks, you'll have street trees, all of those things. But it'll still be a storage site. And that's working its way through our review process. It likely will go to the board, I believe, next month. Either the middle to next month is a target date for it. So that's sort of working its way through. That's the only thing that we have within the metro neighborhoods that sort of have any activity besides what's happening on Shady Grove Station west side. We've had no updates with the city of Rockville regarding their annexation for the metro properties. They put that on hold late last year, primarily because of like costs associated with policing the area and on other sort of infrastructure costs they were anticipating. So, but we've had no updates regarding them moving forward. Obviously, if they're planned to do that, sort of restart that process, the committee and obviously will be informed and will bring back out one of the planners there to give us an update regarding that activity. So the next development activity, just to mention in passing, one hasn't yet been submitted, is the American plant biologist property here on Monona Drive and Crabs Branch Way. So it's zoned industrial today. The property owner, the plant biologist, is looking to sell the site. And we've had some discussions with a potential contract purchaser. We've had conversations with a plant biologist regarding the property, the sort of legacy or heritage house that's there. So the property is sort of the last vestiges from the Goody family. And when we did a plan update in 2021, we tried to make a case historically, but our historic preservation colleagues did not want to do anything essentially. They really didn't think it merited sort of locational atlas listing or much as the master plan listing. So it's just a brief reference in the plan that talks about the past. But we are aware, but a couple years ago, there was a concept to use the industrial zoning that's there today to have more of a light industrial expanded facility. And the surrounding residential community, Durwood Station, they were not in favor of that, to say the least. So where we are is that we know in sometime either this year, not sure when, but there'll be likely a local map amendment to rezone the property. That's possible. And obviously when that officially is done, you folks will be notified of that. So we've had conversations, couple go rounds. We haven't met in about a month or more since we met with the property owner, with the potential contract purchaser to have townhouses and then the retention of the house that's there, the property, the structure that's there today is used in an office building, but essentially it looks like a big manor house. You retain that.
Is that currently zone light industry?
It's own light industrial, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have to be rezoned by, via the hearing examiner, the county council, final action. So that's still to be determined, but just note that that's, something that's out there. And then across the street, this property here, which is former office development, um, it has received site plan approval late last year for about 160 plus townhouses and 2/2s. It was rezoned also last year, early last year, by the county council from industrial to commercial residential neighborhood. So you're seeing, as you're seeing other parts of the county, former office parks are being repositioned into new uses, into more predominantly residential, a lot of townhouses, etc. So that will probably be breaking ground probably early next year after they go through all the permitting approvals, because they recently approved. The site plan was approved last year by the planning board. So those are one thing that's certain, one thing that's out there. I just want to mention in terms of updates regarding this part of the plan area. So I'll stop, and if anyone has any questions, please either raise your hand or put your comments in the chat. Right. And then finally, from me, I'll jump back into this PowerPoint presentation and just highlight a few more things from the county executive CIP. One is the maintenance depot that David talked about in terms of numbers. Funding is there from FY 30, so we several more years to go. Some updates regarding the processing facility along by the metro station service yard area. Some monies are there for some upgrades, including new scales and admin building and suppression systems or overall updates. These are all things from the county executive CIP that was released earlier this year. A bit on transportation. This is a long-term project. It's been going on for a while. 355 bus rapid transit. It's being done in segments, but just to highlight the portion through the planned area. Obviously, because we have the metro station, there'll be a portion of it that will obviously be affected. 355 and getting into Redland Road to get to the transit station. So monies are there from fiscal year 27 on, planning design, anticipated construction dollars as well, assuming. And then finally, a long-term project as well. This is the Shady Grove roadway, pedestrian and bike improvements between Mid-County Highway and close to the hospital. My colleague, Sophia Aldridge, last year, did a review of this. I shared that her analysis with the committee regarding sort of preferred options, different things that Montgomery County Department of Transportation should be thinking about. So a portion of the area, obviously from Mid-County, all the way down to 355 is within the plan area. So there's a good portion of this that's will be applicable. Facility planning is the early phase of counties' infrastructure planning for roadways and other projects. So we're several years away from this becoming actually a real funded project. So studies are underway. That means something eventually will be funded by the council in the future. So that's all I have regarding CIP matters and development things that are either coming in or have been around for a while. So any questions, comments? Mm,
Okay.
yes,
Nikosi,
yes, sir.
not on any of those topics. Maybe you still have more to report.
No, that's it. That's it for me.
You had, and it was on my radar, the Grove Shopping Center.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's thanks to Jeff Resnick. Give him all credit. Regarding new ownership, yes, there's a new owner there. Used to be the prior owner was the KC Trust that owned it for decades, and a new entity has taken ownership of that. And Jeff, we have not met with them, so no, you'd asked earlier via emails to me, but so whenever they're ready to either meet with us or do anything that would impact, from a planning permitting perspective, we will get involved at that time. But as a site, in terms of redevelopment possibilities, they have tons of flexibility. We actually upzone them from what they were in the 2006 plan when I did a 21 update that the council approved back then. So they have more zoning potential, more flexibility, more options. So, but given the retail landscape, it's likely they may want to just stick with what they have to the near term, or maybe even into the long term. But from a flexibility perspective, they could do a variety of things there. So
Is
Well, I'm
Casey,
sure they didn't buy it because I'm sure they had a plan in
when they
mind,
bought it, right?
whether it's near term or intermediate term is the question. Surely we ought to be able to at least ask what their intentions are. They can not answer, of course, or they can, have say something public relations wise positive. So it's worth it.
yeah, I could reach out on behalf of the committee and inquire if they have anything they want to publicly state regarding any near term or long term.
Plans, yeah,
Yeah,
plans.
yeah. So
Great.
Is,
Because
is
as you know, I mean, I'm reminding this committee, it's like a broken record. We will have a pedestrian, a multi-user pathway through to Gaithersburg, through Washington Grove. That is approaching construction. Word is it's 95% engineered. So that will provide ready access to that area, to Crabs Branch and that retail area, to a lot of traffic. Granted, not vehicle from that direction, but it's of great interest to Washington Grove.
Jeff, thanks for the email. Appreciate it. I know you previously indicated you did reach out to them and you did not hear anything, but I'll try again and see where we end up regarding the new owner of the Grove Shopping Center. So,
is Casey
all
finally
right.
winding down that trust or what?
I don't know. I have no idea. They still own the property at 55 and Shady Grove Road, which is adjacent to the CarMax. And they have other interests in the property sort of right across the street near to the opposite side, the northwestern quadrant of like I-370, Shady Grove, and 55 area that's being redeveloped. It was annexed
Right.
into the city of Gatesburg a couple years ago by now. One of those annexations that I did. So Lisa has her hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I just wanted to flag for you that in that report on the pedestrian and bike pathways, I'm very excited for better pedestrian and bike pathways also. But it did look like for the cross street of Shady Grove and Crabs Branch, that one doesn't have some kind of, most of the cross streets have some kind of metric for like where we decide that like, the wait time for vehicles to get through is acceptable. Crabs Branch does not, and it looked to me like that was like the longest wait time in the plan of what would be the impact for a lot of the changes for the two different options. That one was like the longest one, so just a flag for the neighborhoods around here as well as like the new retail that'd be coming in, that we do need to make sure that we can get folks through there, and we shouldn't just ignore this intersection because it doesn't have a metric associated with it.
Good. Thank you for flagging that early in the process because yes, fabulous comment.
Thank you.
Hand of Evelyn Beckman.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on, I believe, what I heard John Compton say. John, did you say that there's going to be a pedestrian path that is going to lead between, up Crabs Branch Road to the north that connects with Washington Grove? Because if that's the case, we would love to go on family walks up that way one of these days.
The answer to that is yes. And, following Mr. Dice's and the other gentleman's lead, it doesn't look like there are any snafus ahead. The engineering is reportedly virtually complete, and the funding appears to be solid to construct it. I'm sure Nkosi can point out where it actually goes.
Yeah,
It's rather short, but I think significant in the access it will provide.
Yeah, so this is a connection that the mayor is quite familiar with. It's been around for a number of years now, but essentially it's Brown Street here in the town that will be linking to Crabs Branch Way.
Yeah.
So just for orientation purposes, these are the county facilities here. The MCDOT facilities are here. This is the town. This is the Washington Grove Meadow open space here. So yes, you'll have a connection that will come through and get you here. The pedestrian bike accommodation. There is a long-term potential of another roadway which terminates from here and gets you there, but that's sort of TBD to be determined in the future. But the project that Mayor Compton mentioned is really disconnection from here to here, which will serve not only people in the town of Washington Grove, but folks from Old Town Gaithersburg up in this area, as well as the folks who are living now at the west side and other parts of the Shady Grove Durwood community.
Great. Do we have a timeline on that? Maybe like the next year or so?
Well, the anticipated start of construction was 2026. So if we are lucky, that'll be this summer, and completion in a year and a half, I think, was the, everything takes longer than you think, but that's roughly the timeline.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. Aaron, I'm going to kick this one to you because regarding sudden no turn on red light signs.
Yeah, so the council's transportation committee had a briefing, I want to say December, relatively recently, and this was a big topic. And so what we took coming out of that meeting, based on what everyone said, including Evan Glass, chair of the transportation committee, was that there was a general understanding or a feeling, at least among those who spoke, that the bill that mandated these at so many intersections may need to be updated and revised. The idea, I believe, and this is not a formal decision that anyone made, but I think the idea was come back after a year of the no right turn on red law being in effect and see how we redefine, pare back, things to better reflect, not to capture necessarily intersections where there's just such limited pedestrian activity, but also balancing that against, we want to encourage pedestrian activity, right? So long story short, Sequoia, I will reach out to you tomorrow, and we're keeping a list of intersections people have reached out to us about. And I think on that list is one here. It has to do with at the Metro access road, I think, getting on the Redland was one brought up previously in this setting. So I'll reach out to Sequoia, and we will touch base and see where that goes.
All right. Are there any other questions? I don't see any in the chat. So many thanks to our speakers this evening. Mr. Quinn, always good seeing you. Mr. Dice and Mr. Kraut. Thanks for attendees. So we'll meet again in a couple months, I think in April. Yeah, a month. Yes. So hopefully between now and then we'll be have any more updates. Please reach out to myself and Aaron. Anything else we could assist the community on. So again, many thanks for your participation, and take care.